Every day it comes to this. Catch the things you might have missed, you say. Get back to yesterday. I ain't ever going back.
Hi, Paul Maven back again with another video. This time we're going to be looking at cyanotypes. Sorry, that way, back to front. There's one there. If you're not aware, cyanotype is a very, very old process which involves the mixture of a couple of chemicals. You can then expose this to UV light, sunlight, and get an exposure. So on a really bright sunny day, like you can see here, works fantastically. You can get an exposure in a couple of minutes. In December, when it's dark and you've got no sunlight whatsoever, that exposure outside during the day could go up to hours. So it's not practical. So what I've got this fantastic little UV exposure unit from Creative Printers of London, which will take up to A4 size, and you can merrily expose your cyanotypes or anything else that needs UV light 365 days a year. You need a plug socket basically. You don't have to rely on the dubious nature of our sunshine. So we're going to be looking at the process, looking at safe use of chemicals, application techniques, and the type of things you can use to create a cyanotype, and we'll go through the process step by step. So let's get stuck in. So let's have a quick look at some equipment and materials. I'll basically make two types of cyanotype. Two methods. I use a contact print method, which is whereby I'll lay something on top of some coated paper, like you see here, some nice detailed leaves. Detail works nicely. If this was just a big leaf with no light transmittable qualities, you'd just get a big white patch on the sheet. It wouldn't look nice. So something with detail works really nice. Second method is to use some sort of negative. So I print out a photograph. This is one of my photographs from a Scotland trip onto acetate. As a negative, it's got to be negative. So Control I to invert it in Photoshop. Then I just lay it down on top of the coated paper, and there you go. You get a nice positive cyanotype print. I use this stuff. It's Artistico by Fabriano, beautiful watercolour paper, heavyweight, textured, acid free. It's really important that it's acid free. Gorgeous stuff. To get the chemical onto the paper, I use either sponge brushes or Hake brushes. Hake brushes are really nice to get in, the brush strokes on the side if you print. That's lovely. They are metal free, the brushes. That's quite important. You don't want any metal reacting with the chemicals. So and likewise, mixing the chemical up in a ceramic dish is really important. You don't want any metal near your chemicals. The chemicals themselves are a two-part process. I get them from a company called cyanotype.co.uk. A little goes a long way, so I've had this stuff for over a year. It lasts ages. You don't need much to coat quite a lot of paper. It's a two-part process. We've got ferric ammonium citrate and potassium ferrocyanide. Don't be alarmed about the cyanide bit. These are inert chemicals. They're diluted down, ready for use. I wear gloves when I'm coating paper and handling them, and I wear an apron because it's quite messy and it stains badly. But you know, if you're careful with this stuff, it's not dangerous at all. So those are the chemicals. You can use tannic acid to tone your print. It gives it a lovely aubergine colour. So you just mix it with some water and you can tone your print when it's finished. We might do that later on. I'll show you the process there. It's quite easy. Here's the unit. A really lovely little machine, this. I'm really chuffed with it. Dead light, dead portable, dead easy to use. It's got good coverage. You can get an A4 print on there, which is a decent size cyanotype. So inside we've got an array of 16 LED bulbs. You can see them there underneath the glass. And what I like about that is you get a really even coverage across the exposure. I've used some machines that are a lot more expensive than this one, to be honest. This is a really affordable unit. Is that you get a little bulb in the bottom, and it doesn't cover the whole area. So with this, you've got even exposure right across, which is quite surprising, really, for a unit that is a lot less expensive than some units on the market. And we've also got this in the lid as well. That's worth mentioning. It's important to have a good contact between wherever it is you've got laid on top of the paper and the paper itself. So we've got a spongy lid insert, for want of a better technical term, and once that lid's down and clamped using the two clamps, you've got a really good firm and connection between wherever it is you've got laid on the paper and the paper itself. So yeah, loving it. I managed to get hold of these things, just standard darkroom trays off eBay, dirt cheap. A bit of a giveaway, really, but dead handy for toning and washing prints. I got this as well. This is really handy. It's a print washer. So if you can get hold of one of those, fantastic. I've got a couple of pairs of tongs in there and some pipettes for dispensing chemical and what have you, but well worth having. This stuff is used to make the finished print. So this one's been put in peroxide right at the end. It makes it go very blue. They will age to blue over time, but this does it instantly, so you get that really deep Prussian blue colour. It has to be liquid peroxide, not the cream stuff you buy from hairdressers, but it really speeds that blue process up. Right, we are ready to start coating some paper. I've got everything set up. I've got a couple of brushes, a couple of pieces of paper. I've got one piece of paper free, and I've got one paper masked down, so it's got a nice little neat border. Sometimes I do that if I'm making a photographic cyanotype. It just gives it a nice clean crisp border. You don't have to do that. It's up to you entirely. I haven't mixed the chemicals yet because we're in broad daylight. Normally you would do this in a room without any UV lights, or a room without windows, or wait till the evening when the sun's gone down. But basically, once those two chemicals get together when they're in the bowl, they're going to start reacting to UV light. They'll start going off instantly. So obviously I'm doing this for demonstration purposes, but as I say, normally you wouldn't do it where there would be any UV light or sunlight at all. So I've mixed the chemicals up, 1 part A, 1 part B, using a pipette. As I say, you don't need much. I've about half filled this pipette with each of the chemicals, and that's enough to get both of these sheets done, really. So what I've done, I've got the paper ready. I've pre-dampened this brush. It's been dampened and then the excess taken off. It means it doesn't suck too much of the chemical off the bowl. So I'm just getting a little bit of the chemical, getting rid of the excess. You don't need much at all, and then I'm going to start to apply the chemical across with even strokes. What you want to avoid, if you've got too much chemical on the brush, you'll get this, it's called pooling. That's not going to develop properly. You want to brush that out. You don't want any pools of chemical on the paper whatsoever. So I'm just going evenly across the paper with the sponge. You can see another one there. I'm just getting those worked into the paper so I've got a nice even spread. What I also do is I double coat. So I'll let this dry and then I'll put another coat on once I've finished that. You get a lovely rich finish when you've got a double coat. So you can see just brushing it all in there, making sure there's no pooling whatsoever, and then we'll let that dry. think this is probably the photographer coming out in me, but I think the key to any activity like this is to get organised first. So this looks like a dark room, but it isn't. But what we've got everything set up ready to go before I even go anywhere near the exposure unit, which is there. So we've got the washer set up. We've got some water, which has some peroxide in it, about 3 tablespoons. And we've got a tone bath, just in case if I want to tone one of the prints as well. And that's the stuff I showed you earlier on. There's about a tablespoon in there as well, maybe 2, I think. I've also got this stuff. This is raw citric acid. I haven't used it today, but what you can do is when you first go into a developer tray, which is basically water, you can put citric acid in as well. It's particularly nice for bringing shadow detail and deeper tones into your print. So that you need to handle that with care. Obviously, it's raw citric acid. I'm not going to use it today, but that's what that's used for. So we're sort of ready to go. I'm going to make a couple of test strips now, and then we'll get printing. It's always a good idea when you are coating your paper to sacrifice one to make some test strips. You need to know what exposure to give the paper on the UV unit. So I've cut that piece that I did earlier on with the border into 3. I've wrote 50 seconds on one. This one's got 100 seconds written on the back, and this is 200 seconds. So I'm going to expose them for those times and see which gives me the correct exposure, and then we'll take it from there. Because this little thing's so portable, you can put it pretty much anywhere. That's convenient to work with the plug socket, really. It's great. So to set it up, we've got to put the time in. So we've pressed set, press and hold set, and then put the time in, and then press set again, and then the time's set. You can see it flashing there on the video. That's just the scan rate. It doesn't actually do that in real life. So we've got the negative upside down, obviously, so we need to project the writing that's on the life buoy for the print the right way around, so it's upside down. And then we're going to put a test strip on top, emulsion side facing the LEDs. We'll get that closed down and locked, and away we go. So I don't know whether you can hear me of the running water, but here we have our 3 exposures. We've got 50 seconds, so it's going to go in the water. We've got 100 seconds, and then we've got 200 seconds, so they'll go in the water. So these beauties have had about 5 minutes wash now. So we're just going to go through and have a look, see what the exposures are. So if we look at the 50-second one, it's obviously underexposed. There's not enough light gone through there. It's really washed out. It's not good at all. So the 50-second one is a non-starter, I think. We're getting there with the 100 seconds. Still looks a little bit thin in my world, that. But when we look at the 200 second exposure, that looks a lot better. It's punchy, maybe a little too much there. So this is 100 seconds. This is 200 seconds. Sorry, 100 seconds, 200 seconds. So I think I'm going to go for somewhere in between, would probably be about right. This is a bit too dark here. So I think I'm probably going to go for something around 175 seconds for a proper exposure. Okay, so this has had about 5 minutes wash now. It's really important that you get this properly washed. You don't want any traces of blue or yellow coming out of here. If the chemical stays in the paper, it will obviously keep reacting to light. So you need to make sure it's completely washed out.
before you go into the next process. I've got the bleach bath here, so we're going to go straight into there, and you will see that there. Look at that, that just bangs it right off the page straight away. That's lovely. So we've got a really nice deep Prussian blue now. That's gorgeous. I'm also considering, I'll just show you the test strip I did earlier on. Get that to stop making a noise. It's doing my head in. So this is the tone after it's gone through the tannic acid. I don't know whether you can see that. That's beautiful as well. I'm really considering doing that, so I'll decide that in a moment, but I think I might go for the tone. That's beautiful. There you go, guys, there's the finished print. I did indeed go for the aubergine tone using the tannic acid. I think it's come out really lovely. I'm over the moon with that. Lots of detail in there, so the exposure's spot on. The exposure's really sort of manageable with the unit, and this afternoon it got really cold and windy and not that massively pleasant sitting outside exposing paper in the sunlight, which pretty much disappeared anyway. So the unit makes a massive difference. So there you go. Hope you got something from the video. I'll put some credits up at the end just about supplies and stuff, and possibly make some more videos in the future. I'm getting quite into this, so cheers.